Everyone has said the thank you, but I have not, so I would like to. First of all, thank you for everyone who took time out of the busy day to come here, despite this weather, decided to come here. Thank you all so much. You have no idea what all of this means to me. I think we all say that God invites us places, but since God has put the obstruction, all of you have still come here. I think that definitely shows how much we all were destined to meet here today. Thank you all so much. So, as my father shared earlier right now, to me, the journey matters more than the destination, but more than that, I believe what matters to me is the culmination of all the people, all their sacrifices, and all their inputs which have brought me here. My parents, who have supported me in every way, shape, and possible, who have laid the foundation from which this book was built. Sagar sir, who gave me and my book, my dream, a chance. Thank you so much, sir. The book baker, Sohail Mathur sir, who took me to Sagar sir, who paved that way. Thank you all so much. And our dear influencers who are here today. Thank you all so much for coming here, who have taken it upon themselves to not just represent the big money-making books, but to help out new authors, Indian authors. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. That's such a warm note to begin things, and so is the story about this book. And while Sharvi was talking to all of you, it feels like, a very family thing, that it's a very close, intimate conversation that we are having, wherein we are raising toasts and, saying thank you to people we love and who have been very instrumental to us. And that's how the book also opens, wherein it's about a very ordinary girl doing some extraordinary things. And I wanted to ask Sharvi to begin this conversation and to break the ice, that how did you define or how did you think about doing this story, which has a mix of so many things which we were just discussing at the backstage, and we'll have more conversation on that. But just to give a hint to everybody, those who have not read the book, or because it is out today and people are looking forward to reading it, how did a very ordinary girl just got into an extraordinary thing, and how did you chose Kalki to be the one person that the entire story kind of connects with?
So again, I'm pretty sure all of us are familiar with who Kalki is, the final avatar of Lord Vishnu. But overall, I believe the book and all of us in general who are present here today have one uniting, one defining character, and that is hope. Hope, I believe, is the most important thing in this world, and everything in this book, from beginning to the end, the beginning of the ordinary to reaching the extraordinary, is something we all dream of, is something we all hope for. Every morning when we wake up and we choose to go about our day to fight what we believe in, it is the hope that we can go from ordinary to extraordinary. And that's what I believe Kalki Avatar symbolizes for a lot of us, that someone will come one day, someone will take us to a new golden age, someone will lead us somewhere new, and that is hope at the end of the day. So that is, I believe, what is inspiring my book, to bring hope to people that, okay, things might be a bit poor right now, but it is up to you, it is up to us, it is up to some ordinary girl, Khadika Tarkar, it is up to ordinary people to become the Kalki Avatar of their own lives.
Very interesting. I would also want you to talk about the book, that what the book is all about, because I know I cannot talk about it without giving the spoilers. But just to add to it, while I was reading the book, there were two very prominent books that came to my mind. One was Educated by Tara Westover, wherein she is so ordinary and nothing right is happening in her life, and every single day it's so rushed that everything extraordinary is happening with very ordinary life. And the second one is Michelle Obama's autobiography, wherein she talks about living such a fantastic, extraordinary life, and she thinks that nothing is extraordinary in her life, and that's how it is written. So when we look at Kartika, she does not know what her destiny is, and the book starts from there. So would you also want to talk to everybody that how, like you spoke about hope, and how did this start, and how did this book happen, and what were the initial thoughts that you had as a 17-year-old coming and writing this explosive of a story?
Again, I think you've summarized it quite well. All of us start as someone who doesn't know who we want to be, and someone ordinary. And like I've told many of you today as well, I started writing this book when I was around 12 or 13. And that is our age when we as teenagers, we as people are thinking, what are we doing with our lives? We have to soon choose the stream which we will go to, we have to soon choose our career path. So that is the moment I believe I was feeling that I don't know what my destiny is. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with my future. And that definitely inspired Kartika. A lot of people, my family in general, have teased me that Kartika is more of a self-insert of myself, but that wouldn't entirely be accurate. I believe she is who I want to be. That is why she starts out as ordinary, not knowing who she wants to be. And then throughout the story, she finds her Krishna, as I found Anjali ma'am, as I found my parents, as I found all of you, as I found Sagar sir. And she becomes someone extraordinary. She becomes someone who knows who she wants to be, and someone who helps her own country, her own culture, her own dharma while doing it.
Very interesting. And apart from just one person playing an extraordinary role, there are two very important characters in the book, Kartika and Karan, and they're twin siblings. And I somehow, was kind of also feeling a bit sad while I was reading it because destiny favors one more than the other. But the book has very beautiful undertone wherein it talks about sibling relationships, loyalty towards each other, and what goes in a relationship wherein you know each other so well that you've been brought up together. So would you also want to talk about that segment of the book, because I think that's a very powerful segment and plays a very important role in the entire book.
Again, as many of you might know, I do not have any siblings of my own. In fact, my parents have been filling in that role for as long as I can remember. So again, so when I started reading this book, I did wish for someone to be there with Kartika, someone who maybe wasn't as extraordinary, maybe someone who had figured out his destiny as I had back then, but someone who is working towards it to maybe give the message that, hey, sometimes if you are jealous of your friends, your siblings, that is okay, that is something you can build towards. But on a deeper note, this book is inspired by and is tied a lot towards our Hindu Itihas, our history, our culture, and one of the most defining relationships in all of our epics is the one of siblinghood. That is often expressed through brotherhood. We have Sri Ram, Lakshman, we have the entire Mahabharata favor towards brotherhood. But since the main character was a girl, I definitely wanted to explore that like sibling relationship of knowing each other forever, as you've seen, but still there being this kind of competition, there being this kind of tension where you don't know where either of you are going to end up, which I wanted to explore. So that was one of my favorite parts, and thank you for taking note of that.
And I was, Sharvi, I was very surprised and pleasantly at that, because while I was reading it and exploring the sibling relationship that you've built in, I was also thinking about a lot of, similar gender siblings like Krishna and Baldev, like the Pandavas, and a lot more. And while I was thinking about this, I was also thinking there is a lot of reference, there is a lot of, there's a lot of creation of this book that has happened from the Ramayanas, Mahabharata, also from the Puranas. But at a very larger space, I also felt that I was entering into a Narnia world or a Harry Potter world. And that kind of amazed me, because I was like, oh wow, I have never thought, mixing fantasy and mythology, though we read a lot of books like that. But this was, very charismatic at that. I was just seeing that everybody was larger than life. So is it that Charvi feels that, everybody has a larger than life persona?
Definitely. Like I've said, Kartika is me, but someone who I want to be. And all of us have that one ideal person who we hope to become one day. Maybe that's not someone we know in real life, that's someone we want to be. And that's why we gravitate so much towards larger than life stories, towards mythology, because those are the people we look up to from a young age. And as for the references you listed, that's very, very true. The main motive behind me writing this book was to blend Itihas, mythology, and current modern fantasy and fiction. So I've grown up outside of India. I grew up in Qatar, in a more westernized institution, that even though I was surrounded by Indians, all of us had grown up away from India, and we had internalized Western perspectives of what India is, of what Bharat is, of what our culture is. And we viewed all this as very orthodox, as very backward, as something that we shouldn't be proud of until the West is proud of it. We are only proud of yoga and Ayurveda when the US says that it's posh and it's cool. And I found that very disturbing, I would say, that all of this is ours. It's our home, it's our culture, and we have to keep it alive and we have to be proud of it in a way where we can be proud of ourselves, which is what inspired this book. I grew up reading Harry Potter, reading Percy Jackson, all these fantasy fiction books, which everyone my age loved, but at home, I grew up listening to stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Thanks to my parents, I was very rooted in my Indian culture. So I wanted to bring both of these things together so that people my age would enjoy these stories, would enjoy our values and these intrinsic relationships, like the ones of brotherhood, of family, without it sounding preachy, without it sounding like something your grandparents are forcing on you, but something like you are reading it out of your own volition and you are understanding what it is because you enjoy reading it.
And Charvi, thank you for highlighting that. I also wanted to make you all to see this lovely cover, which has such a super blend of, you know, the Indian itihas and also the knight in shining armor. So the sword that's shining high. So I think this is such a beautiful blend when we look at, you know, covers like that that reveal much more than what lies, you know, what we can see with our eyes, and the book is such. So Sharvi, I would want you to also talk about how, you know, what was your writing journey? Because as you know, as a student with so much of curriculum falling over heads, our heads these days, with the rat race of competitive examinations, I being a part of, I have done it all and I've been there, so I know it how mad that is. The IITs and the IIMs and everything, but. And then, you know, securing such a wonderful position in a very interesting school. What do you think, you know, how has been your reading and writing journey majorly for this book is what I would want to talk about. Any references that you have drawn from books, some authors that you have loved reading, you know, during the process?
Again, like I said, this book has been a labor of love for quite a while. I first conceptualized the book, started writing it when I was around 12. So it has been a long road coming here, and as I grew older, the main manuscript, no matter how finished, ready I thought it was, it kept changing, kept evolving with me as I grew older. So I believe if you want to know who I am, you read this book and you understand. So my writing journey was definitely, like I said, wanting to mix two things I loved the most, and that vision, that motivation kept me going, that one day some kid will read my book and think that, hey, maybe my culture isn't as orthodox as I've been taught, maybe I should be proud of it. And that would give some kid the confidence which I really lacked when I was their age. And that vision was definitely what kept me going. So as an author, I believe all of us need to have an end goal, an end destination. I remember back then I was a big fan of J.K. Rowling, particularly her writing process, writing prowess. And I remember her saying that she wrote the final chapter of the final book before she wrote the first book itself, that you will get there one day. And I believe that this goal, this vision of a child reading my book was definitely, you will get there one day, kind of frame for me. Again, all of you over here, all of you have been there for parts of my writing journey, and hopefully many of you will be there in the future as well. So all of you know what the writing journey has been about. And as for inspirations, again, like I said, the books that define our current generation, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, but more than that, the tropes, the values, the storylines, and the morals which come with our own itihas, not just Ramayana and Mahabharata that you're all familiar with, but the Puranas, the Vedas, the ones which have more intricate storylines, which I hope I've represented in a good enough way over here, and many draws from traditional Ayurveda and yoga as well, which I hope will be educational for some people our age as well.
That's quite interesting, and I'm sure, you know, there are a lot of things that we often take as you know, something that we know about, but when we dive deep into such characters which are also fictionalized and also talk about those deep you know, teachings that you know, we've forgotten, or we are forgetting, or we're thinking about it in a different manner, I think this book definitely, you know, kind of brings you back, and it makes you ponder over certain things. So I think that is quite fascinating. Also, Sharvi, I would want to ask that what is it, you know, while writing this book, what is it that kind of surprised you? Like, you know, for every writer, there's a whiteboard you go back to, and you know, you kind of plot everything. I don't know if your journey has been like that, but what happens is that, you know, you have a plan, you have a plot, you have characters, you know how they're behaving, and while writing those characters, something suddenly shifts, and I think that happens with most of us while we're writing a story. were there any such characters which were adamant that no, I will not let you write the way you want me to write, but I will behave like this, which actually surprised you, which changed their path, so your story also diverted a bit?
Like Pam said, as we write a story, the longer we write a story, these characters can take a life of their own. The more you empathize with them, the more you understand them, they become their own people, and at some level you lose the puppet strings to them, I suppose, that they are the ones who are guiding you to the end of the story. And like I said, I've come back to the book many times, redone it, rewrote it. So definitely the characters which stuck with me most, again, maybe this might be counted as a spoiler, but it would be Arjun. Arjun again is a very central character. I don't know if I should go too much into him right now, but he was, I guess, my greatest flaws back then. He's very adamant, he's very, it's my way or the highway kind of person. And as I kept coming back to the book, as I matured more in my own life, as I met different people who are all here, as I got new internships, as I did more with my life, I realized that a person cannot stay like that forever, that a character in a book has to grow just as we do, and that is how the readers grow as well. The reason why stories stick with us is because we grew up with them, is because we see characters learn and evolve, and that makes us want to improve as well. So as much as these characters have grown their own, they've inspired me to grow as well, and I hope if any of you read the book, they maybe tap into something you didn't know about yourself as well.
Yeah, why I asked you this was because while I was reading it, I felt the undertone of it, and I felt that wow, this is such a, because as a reader, I was expecting something else, while reading the story. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but yes, it takes a very beautiful twist, and it also takes a very beautiful turn at many levels wherein you were not expecting this to happen. So I think that's the beauty of how you write or rewrite, certain stories. And thank you for bringing the story to light, Sharvi. And I would want to ask you, a dual question, and then we will move on to something very interesting. The first question is, what's your favorite part of the book, or what you enjoyed reading the most? And the second question is there something that you would like to share with the audience out here, that there were moments when you thought that, oh, this is not going to happen, I'm not going to do it, or there were moments of letdowns, burn downs, and you thought, no, let me give it all up, and then finally, when this wonder of a Marvel came in, and you are like, wow, I did it.
Throughout this entire ceremony, we have talked a lot about the characters in the book, maybe the emotional roles of the book, but honestly, the overarching theme, the real energy of the book comes from patriotism. It comes from the love for one's country, for culture and dharma. That's something that's been instilled in me before any other value. That's something I hold higher than anything else. So for me, definitely that was the most important emotion I wanted myself and for the reader to feel. And so the moment that stuck with me the most is the one that is shown on the cover, where Kartika holds up that Kesari saffron flag, which reminds you of Shivaji himself. She holds a sword, and she thinks that I don't know what the future holds, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but the one thing I'm always going to keep in my mind is that my country comes before anything else, that my people comes before anything else, and whatever lengths I have to go for that, I will do it. And that energy and that motivation, I believe, should exist in all of us, regardless of our age, regardless of where we come from, that we want to see something from our country. It doesn't matter what our job is, it doesn't matter where we are, what our walk of life is, how we manage to contribute, but wherever we are, whichever corner of the world, we should always hold our country and our culture at heart. And I believe stories like this are a small piece in that puzzle to keep us connected to our home. And I hope you all would be able to feel that feeling as well. If I'm able to reignite that feeling of patriotism